What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Sports Talk on Tap video. We're here. You can find daily uploads Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports leagues, whether it be NFL, NHL, MLB, or NBA, games, news, highlights, tier lists, all that fun stuff we're here to talk about. Happy Tuesday to everyone. In today's episode, we're going to be ranking way too early season predictions for next year because it's never way too early. Season predictions for the West. We're going to do seedings 15 through 8, so kind of the bottom of the West where we think teams will finish towards the bottom, and some playing teams. Obviously, that will be 10 through 8, and then later on this week we might do 1 through 7, and we'll do the same thing in the East as well. So with that being said, Nick, obviously, we both have our own tier list makers, and we'll kind of just go back and forth, talk a little bit about each team, 15 through 8, but pretty much we'll just get right into it, and I'm very excited to see if we have any of the same, if we have any different. I assume we will, but, I'm always curious for a good debate. So with that being said, though, my 15 seed, the team that I have be finishing last, will not be any different from the team that finished last year. That's the Portland Trailblazers. I like the Donovan Clingan signing. I think he can make a good impact, but at the end of the day, I'm not even sure if Anthony Simons is still going to be there, by the end of the year. He might get traded. He's a bucket getter, but there's still a lot of development to be done with Scoot Henderson. Can he take that leap heading into year 2? What do they do with DeAndre Ayton, who is kind of, underrated, solid for them when he played on offense, but they had Donovan Clingan, and those two just can't play together. So, it's just going to be developing Clingan, and Ayton's kind of like riding bench, so they look to trade him. There's just too many question marks for this team. I think, Anthony Simons will get his. He'll be a bucket for them. And I think Scoot Henderson will get a little bit better. But at the end of the day, the West is so stacked. There's no other place to put them.
I'll pull mine up. I got the same one. Portland is butt booty cheeks. They really just have Scoot to rely on as their future, and he was not showing any great signs last season. Maybe he had a few decent games, but
yeah,
for all the talk of him, and all the hype up he had going into the draft and everything, he was saying how he should
People had him rookie of the year.
Yeah, so I can't see Portland going anywhere north of the bottom, which is tough to do. But I'll get back to
it. Yeah, with that being said, sorry to all my Portland fans. The next team has been a team that's been underratedly competitive the last 2 seasons when they were when they were expected to be bad. I'm going to redo that. But with that being said, I'm still going Utah Jazz as my 14. I think they're going to get a little bit worse just because the Lauri Markkanen trade rumors have ramped up. And even with Lauri Markkanen on this team, he's so good. But at the end of the day, Walker Kessler kind of took a step back in year 2 from his great rookie season. And then after that, it's just kind of a bunch of bodies, guys like, I believe it's like Horn Tucker's there, John Collins. Just a group. It's always a group of guys. They've won like 30 games plus each of the last 2 seasons, but I'm expecting some hard regression this year just with the Lauri trade rumors. If he gets dealt, especially, I just think this team has a really good future, but they don't have any like super good young players right now that are just kind of coming in quite yet. But that could very well change soon. But overall, I still got to see some young developing talent from this team.
Okay. Well, 2 for 2 so far. I also have the Utah Jazz, mainly because I do think they're going to lose Lauri Markkanen. And, when you're losing your best player, you're not going to look good. So all the reasons you said, you pretty much touched on everything. So that's a good 2 for 2 right there.
Love it. Next team, 13. I want to put them higher. We, had the opportunity to, talk about this team as a sneaky play, and I really do think they're going to bounce back and probably win like 32 games, like an 11+ win difference from last season. But at the end of the day, this team, there's just the West is too stacked, and there's still a lot of question marks. Can Chris Paul stay healthy? Obviously, we know Victor Wembanyama is a beast. How much of a leap does he take? I'm expecting a big scoring leap to maybe 25 points per game. But the other guys like Devin Vassell, just solid players, solid bucket getters. But for me, the defenders outside of Wemby still remain a problem. The perimeter defenders, because I know Vassell isn't really that great, and kind of the players they were trying to get last year were still not very good as well. There is a reason they finished 20th in like team defense, despite having arguably the second best defender in the league last season. So with that being said, I love Wemby. I think this team could, and I do think they're going to take a step. But at the end of the day, there's just a lot of teams I trust more than them. Regular season wise, and this team still very young is going to go through the slumps, but I do like it. But the other thing that concerns me is Chris Paul's injury, because as much as we hype up the signing, he hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of seasons. So and at his age, entering his age like 38, 39 season, I mean, it's no lock that he even plays like 60 games.
Yeah. We probably don't even need to switch over to mine because, again, I have the same team as you. I really, when I was, making this tier list in my head, or not tier list, like rankings in my head, I really wanted to put them at like the 10 seed and
I did too, but then I looked hard and was like,
yeah, there's just so many good teams in the West. It's like I can't see them being better than, blank, blank, and blank to get in. So,
yeah,
it's tough because I want to see them do good, and I hope they can make the play-in. But with just how good the West is, it's going to be so hard.
Yeah, 100% agree. So we've cooked so far. Here, though, based on some talks I've heard from you, I don't think we'll have the same. My next team we're going to head down is Golden State. Golden State, obviously, last year snuck in as the 10th seed, lost to the Kings. This offseason, they made some interesting moves. They let Klay Thompson go on a sign and trade, who at the end of the day, everyone, kind of rags on him for the season he had, but he still averaged 19 points per game on very efficient shooting from three. He obviously, I think succeeded more in a bench role and was kind of being used in Golden State wrongly. Where I think in Dallas, he'll be used properly more right as like, the fourth man on this team. And just like a hot plug scoring option off the bench. And it's not that I think Golden State necessarily got worse. I think they, added a Swiss Army knife defender in Kyle Anderson, but his shot last year in Minnesota was concerning. Teams were just leaving him wide open. And he just wasn't hitting. And obviously that shooting form is weird, but his first year, I just remember him being so efficient, 40+% from three. But regardless, he's a good Swiss Army knife defender that can be used to guard multiple different players. And I don't mind the Buddy Hield signing. He's a sniper, but he really can't play in the playoffs or anything like that. And he can get attacked on defense. Obviously, Steph Curry, I still have in my top 10 players. I know he faded down the stretch, but that was kind of more so, just carrying this Warriors team really on his own. With Klay Thompson dealing with his problems, Draymond Green, suspensions, all that. But it's just, when I look at it, I think some other teams are taking leaps that are going to be ahead of them. And, I really do like Golden State, but they kind of stayed the same this offseason with all the moves they made. And when you stay the same in this league, I always say it, in any league, you get worse. And I just feel like they didn't make enough moves to get better. And Curry just getting another year older, what injuries does he deal with? Draymond Green has proven to be more so an off the court drama issue. But that is my 12th seed. And I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Well, I will switch over because I do have a different team. And I know we've kind of been high on this team for a little bit, but I do think the Houston Rockets are going to end up missing the playoffs. And I know
hate that.
I know you're not a fan of it because you we've been talking up the Rockets a little bit, but the more I look at the West, I think there needs to be more development before I pick them to get in because there's so many good teams, like I said, in the West. Obviously, Ime is a good coach, so he could definitely coach that team up to a play-in team, or if he gets them to a top 6 seed, I'd be, shocked. But I just want to see a little more development because I thought they were going to sneak in over Golden State this past year, because they were right up their butts pretty much the
They almost did.
the final stretch, and then kind of just faded out at the end, and Golden State made the run in. But I just with the competition in the West and how tough it is, and how much of a dogfight it is, it's gonna be just to get into the playoffs. I think I gotta have the Houston Rockets outside looking in. I know that's not going to be a favorite pick for a lot of people, but
I just don't think it's obviously a year. I don't see them regressing, if anything. I think they're definitely going to get better.
I don't think it's going to be a regressing factor. I think it's just going to be the West being so good that like maybe 42 or 43 wins does not get you in, because last year they were 500 and they didn't get it. Like the last play-in team was the Golden State Warriors. They were 46 and 36, and that got the last spot in the playoffs. So that's just kind of what I'm going off of. I think the West is just going to get.
All right. Yeah, that'll definitely be one to highlight as we come in the block on that. Next team, I have dropping 7 spots from last year. Let's go to Los Angeles and give me the Clippers. Clippers, all the hype was around them this last season, and rightfully so. They had some high highs, beating Boston by like 40 at TD Garden was probably their highest of high. I remember watching that. It was like on this Friday night. That was kind of funny. Just troll Celtics fans a little bit. But at the end of the day, this team, I don't even, the Paul George, losing, sucks. But at the end of the day, I just can't trust this team. Kawhi Leonard, how many games does he play? Might be 40. I don't know. That knee thing was clearly still a thing as he got pulled from Team USA. So is that even fully healed for the start of the NBA season? I have no idea, because if he couldn't play now and, it's late July and, how does he look in like a month in like change, for September, preseason? And even if he does come back, what's the guarantee how many games he plays? Same with James Harden. This rating may be a little harsh, but, I do like the Derek Jones signing, but there's just too many question marks depth-wise and just star player-wise. Mostly, you think, James Harden, but he's not the same player he was. Kawhi Leonard just can't stay on the court healthy. If Kawhi Leonard was to stay on the court, I'd probably put this team around the top 8, but I think they're due for a dramatic fall off this season.
Okay, that's a hot take, but it's definitely an understandable hot take. So I will now flip to my side where I have a team you just put in. Golden State Warriors, I think, will be the first team out of, first team out looking in, not first team out of the playoffs. Obviously, that would be Portland. But I think, like you said, the points you made, unless they get Lauri Markkanen, because I know those trade rumors are heating up, that was kind of a big, what if for me, because if they get him, I do think they'd get in. But looking at the Warriors team right now, even with Curry and, how good he's played, even at, what is he, 36? I know he's like mid-30s, so even with how good he's playing at that age, it's just not enough to, put that team over the hump, because they didn't get really significantly better compared to the rest of the West.
Yeah. Agree. Obviously, only 1 spot difference there. The next team I'm going to go with, my first play-in team is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. I think there's a lot of question marks with this team. Zion's health is obviously the biggest, but do they still trade Brandon Ingram? I feel like he just doesn't fit with this team. And from what I saw in that playoff series, I just don't know. They have a bunch of solid players like Trey Murphy, C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram. Obviously, when he plays, is a dog from the mid range, but Zion Williamson just can't stay healthy. This last season was arguably his most healthy regular season, and they were just still like the 7th seed or 8th seed. They were the last team to make the playoffs, play the 1 seed Thunder. So I don't know. You got Zion's most healthy season. You got a very productive Brandon Ingram season. You got everyone basically healthy, and you were a 7th seed. I'm not expecting that to continue. You obviously add Javonte Murray for buckets, but back of the analytics don't like him as a player. He's arguably one of the worst. He was so bad in Atlanta just on defense and other things that kind of went under the radar. And I just don't think he isn't the player he was in San Antonio. He kind of was playing a different role with the Hawks. I don't know what role he will play here, but it's just kind of a bunch of dudes for me, and I think that is good enough to get you in. But at the end of the day, I'm not banking on a healthy Zion season, or just a lot of things to fall their way. And I just think the teams above them are just more talented.
Okay, it's a little different from where I have the Pelicans, but not too far off. But first team I have in is the Clippers. I know you said they're, due to have a big downfall. And to me, this is their downfall. I still think they have enough talent to the point where it'll just will them into the playoffs on just the talent alone. I don't think they're going to do anything in the playoffs. I think they'd probably be, one of the first teams eliminated in the play-in, whoever they play, once I set that up. But you're right. Like losing Paul George, Kawhi seemingly never playing, even in big games. It seems like he doesn't play. It's just it's so detrimental to this team. And like when you see all those tweets where it's like the PG Kawhi era is over, it's like, bro, they played like 60 games together. It seems like so.
Yeah,
there never really was a PG Kawhi era, but
their biggest error was probably their first year, and they still missed the playoff, or they choked to the Nuggets in the second round. Next team for me, the 9th seed team that maybe you disrespected a little. I'm going with the Houston Rockets. I think the run they went on with Alperen Sengun, and what Jalen Green showed down the home stretch was, some great basketball. And obviously they fell short, but they did make a push. If anyone had the Rockets finishing 500, you probably cashed out. Ime Udoka has proven he can coach winning teams. And I think, entering just another year of his system, it was kind of just getting everyone together for a while. And it took this team a while to gel just because he brought in a bunch of different players, like guys like Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks. You obviously have Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun. You still have some of those core. Amen Thompson looking to develop. This team has a lot of youth that I think, can take the next step. Can Jalen Green build up that successful season? Sengun's a dog. And, much as a lot of people hate him, I kind of love him. I think Dylan Brooks is a menace. And he shot the ball sneakily efficient from 3 last season. If the team can just kind of gel, Amen Thompson maybe takes another leap in his game. I think this team is due to make the play-in.
Okay, hey, I'll apologize if I disrespected the Rockets and they make the playoffs and I was way wrong. I will apologize. This is no disrespect. This is just me tipping my cap to how good the West is. So
yeah,
the Rockets would probably be like a 6 or 7 seed in the East, just with how good the West is. It's kind of crazy how polar opposite they seem to be. When there's like one or like 2 or 3 good team, like really good teams in the East.
Speaking of which, it won't be Houston, but with the expansion of Vegas and Seattle coming up in the NBA, by 2030 they're projecting either the Grizzlies, Memphis Grizzlies, New Orleans Pelicans, or Minnesota Timberwolves to be teams moving out to the East. So we could see Timberwolves Celtics 4 times a year instead of the 2 times.
That'd be
kind of cool.
That'd be really cool. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved a team like the Timberwolves out there just to kind of even it out.
Yeah.
It would probably be good for you as a Timberwolves.
So that'll be kind of interesting.
as a Timberwolves fan, that's probably what you
Yeah,
want.
I mean, they'd come to Boston. They've come to Boston twice, so I can't complain. Twice the amount, get to see them. But yeah, just thought that was interesting. Now, Nick, we'll move into your 9th seed.
All right. My 9 seed might be a little controversial for some fans, but again, I see this team regressing. They didn't get much better. The other LA team, I have the Lakers coming right after the Clippers. The Lakers just didn't get better this offseason. Their biggest acquisition was drafting LeBron's son. Like that's really like their most polarizing move is now LeBron can play with his son, who a lot of people just thought he wasn't ready for the NBA. Who knows? Like we'll obviously have to see, but he's been like okay in these summer league games. I'm pretty sure the summer league just ended the other day. So
and the finals ended yesterday. Shout out the Miami Heat winning the summer league, so they get their ring.
There you go. Miami finally got their ring. Jimmy can finally get his ring and join the club. But again, with the Lakers, I just like a lot of it's going to depend on if Anthony Davis stays healthy, because we know how he can be with injuries. When he's on the court and he's playing good, like he's a top 2 center in the league. But that's a big if when he's on the court. And LeBron going into age 40 season, which is just nuts to think about how he's, still at a high level at age 40. But if they're giving Bronny minutes, like legit minutes, I think there's going to be something really wrong with what's going on with their season. Like if they're giving him meaningful, like we need you to play 10 to 12 minutes every game, and they need to be good minutes, not like throwaway end of a blowout type game just so he can play with LeBron. Like if they're giving him actual time, I think they're going to be struggling at that point.
Yeah, I don't. You made very good points. My number 8 might be a little bit of surprise. I'm gonna go Oklahoma City. No, I'm just kidding. I am going.
I was gonna say, bro. Oh, you gotta reset.
I'm gonna just.
You can just throw them at the top. You can throw them at the top.
But as my last team, oh gosh. All right, I'm getting really bad at this. But my last playing team at my 8th spot will be Los Angeles Lakers as well. Obviously, just kind of a team that, I still think they're good enough, and they have the talent. LeBron, Team USA, if he's shown anything, he's still that guy making clutch basket after clutch basket. Because I originally did have Los Angeles 9 and Houston 8, but just watching Team USA reminds me they still got 2 dogs on that team, AD and LeBron. And D'Lo is still a very solid role player. His playoffs are a different story, but in the regular season, he's a solid offensive player. Austin Reeves is still just how weak the shooting guard position is, around a top 10 shooting guard in this league, 15 points per game, solid efficiency. And then just other guys like Rui Hachimura. And if you can just get something from guys that didn't contribute at all during the regular season, like Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes contributed a little bit, him even more, Christian Wood, they got some guys. And I think, they have the upper end talent to remain in the upper side of playing and kind of finish right where they did last year as the 8th seed and then beat the Pelicans to become the 7th seed.
Okay. You pretty much got them right where I got them, like one spot higher.
So that will round out my 15 through 8. And then obviously I'll kind of tap in.
I want to say we have the same, lower 8 teams, because the last team I have in is the Pelicans, just because I think I'm a little higher on them than you are. I don't think they're going to trade Brandon Ingram. If they do, I'd be pretty surprised. And I think him mixed with hopefully a healthy Zion, but at this point, like we can't be relying on Zion to be out there for more than 50 games. I still think they'll be able to get to that like 46 to 48 win like plethora, which is probably what it takes to get to that 8 seed. Which drops them they were the 7th seed last year. Yeah.
So, they were the 7th seed, then they lost to the Lakers, so they were technically the 8th seed playing the 1 seed Thunder in the first round. So yeah.
Okay.
Technically, I guess you can say they were the 7th, but they finished the 8th. So I don't know.
Okay.
So upper end playing team regardless.
Excuse me. But yeah, I still think their talent is gonna kind of push them past some of these other teams. I know you say, DeJounte Murray's statistically the worst defender in the league or one of the worst defenders in the league. So that
with the Hawks, it was like completely different from his days with the Spurs. He was just so, different as a player. He just kind of became a shot chucker. And sometimes it worked because I remember against the Timberwolves one game, he went for 40. And I remember he was a thorn in Boston's side for a couple of games.
He did the same thing. He put up 40 shots.
Yeah, so he was definitely a weird player, but it just he wasn't playing winning basketball, and maybe that changes going to New Orleans, but I kind of go based on your last destination. And, just the whole fit, it's not staying healthy, but they do have the talent and the role players to still be a playing team. So maybe, I had him a little low. I just trust teams like the Lakers more than them. Maybe it's not even a regular season thing, maybe just a playing thing, but, it is what it is. But yeah, overall, so those were your 8. And then everyone that's curious, that was my 8. So overall, very similar list. But now we have the top 7 remaining. We'll probably do that later on this week. We'll focus on the East as well. But let us know in the comments what you guys think. Did we disrespect one team? Maybe we'll get some comments about the Clippers. But, at the end of the day, losing Paul George and just kind of, staying the same. And Kawhi Leonard not being able to stay healthy, I think this team's due for heavy regression. With that being said, we're always curious to get your guys' takes in the comments. Do we underrate a team? Do we, overrate a team? We're always curious. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.